be among the first faces from the honors program to greet you to campus, even though it's virtual. We're looking forward to having you here in the fall, getting to know you. The honors program has been in existence for over 50 years now here at the University of Iowa, started in 1958. We pride ourselves on the contact, the personalized service we give to our students. We put the students first. It's a legacy from the founder of the honors program, Rhodes Dunlap. So we are very student-centered, and we will hope to get to know you as you spend your time here at the University of Iowa, and especially with the honors program. I have with me today two honors staff people. One, Emily Hill, the assistant director. We'll hear from her next. And then Holly Blosser-Yoder, who's the director of advising for the honors program. And then we have four student panelists. They're all honors students. They will be able to give information that's from the trenches. We, the staff people, can give you information, but it's at a different level. So we have found that the students can give you special insight that is our current students into what you can expect for the honors program. So I'm going to turn it over now to Dr. Emily Hill, Assistant Director for the honors program. Emily.
Hi, everybody. I'm really excited that you are all here today. I have been with the honors program here at University of Iowa for a little over a year now, and every day is exciting as we're working to build our community with our honors students. So I welcome you, and I look forward to seeing you in the fall. Know that my door is always open. I love to chat with students. So I'm going to hand it off to Holly now, our Director of Advising.
Okay, hello everybody. As Art and Emily said, my name is Holly Blosser-Yoder. I'm the Honors Advising Director. I work with the Honors Ambassadors, who are students who you may have met if you did an on-campus visit, a campus visit. I also work with the Honors Peer Mentors, who are current students who help to advise you. So we have lots of student resources for you, as well as the staff, if you have questions. What we want to do with this session is use our orientation leaders, who are current students, to help put some of the flesh on the bones of the honors program curriculum and what it's like to be a student within the honors program. So they'll talk about the coursework that they've taken, and they'll talk about the experiential learning that they have done or that they're thinking about doing, and how they have made their connection with the honors program. And it will be different for each one, because the honors program is very customizable. It's very flexible. It's designed to serve you and to fit with the things that make sense for you. So I hope that you hear that as the orientation leaders share from their experience. And let's go ahead and start with introductions, and we'll go in alphabetical order by first name. So Abby, Bryce, and Nicole, introduce yourselves with name, major, year in school, hometown or high school, and something interesting about you.
Right. Hello, everyone. My name is Abby. I am from Burlington, Iowa. I'm a rising fourth year studying music and psychology. And a fun fact is that I have never broken a bone, but I have torn my ACL.
Hi guys, my name is Bryce Carr. I am also from Burlington, Iowa, along with Abby. I'm majoring in two different fields of business, probably management and accounting. I'm not 100% sure yet. I'm an incoming junior here at Iowa. And a fun fact about me is that I've been to 4 Middle Eastern countries.
Hi everybody, my name is Kyler Johnson. I am going to be a rising sophomore this coming fall. I am originally from West Des Moines, Iowa. I am an English and creative writing major with German, Portuguese, and Chinese minors. I love languages. A fun fact about me is I actually took a gap year before starting university to figure out what it is that I wanted to do, so I spent my time abroad.
Hi everyone, I'm Nicole. I am going to be a third year in the fall. I am a nursing interest major right now with a minor in Spanish, and with any luck, I'll be able to officially say I'm a nursing official major in a couple weeks. I'm from Sheldon, Iowa, and a fun fact about me, Abby actually stole mine, so I'm gonna go with I've never had a cavity.
Wow, we have such healthy folks here among our orientation leaders today. Okay. Well, just as we, sorry, I'm trying to get to the right page here. Just as we begin our presentation, I want to draw your attention to our mission statement, especially that last phrase. We are really focused on helping you to gain a deeper understanding of your discipline and yourself. And I hope you heard that as well in what I said about each person has their own experience of the honors program. And I think you'll see that as they talk about their experiences. Okay, so the university honors curriculum, we ask you to do 12 semester hours of honors coursework and 12 honors credits, not necessarily semester hours, because we do count some things that don't earn semester hour credit, like internships, research, for honors in order to earn university honors. And what we're focused on here at orientation is that first part, honors coursework. We want to make sure that you have some ideas in mind of classes that you're going to look for so that you can jump right into honors. As you'll find, you're going to be taking lots of standard classes that are not honors classes. But when you have the option of taking an honors class, we recommend that you choose that. And we have a couple of special honors classes designed for entering first year students that we really highly recommend. Okay, so orientation leaders, talk about your first semester, what classes you took, what role they played in your first semester, how they affected you. And maybe remind us if there's a connection there to your major, how that class fit with your major, or just was something that was part of your general education. And again, we'll go in alphabetical order. Abby, Bryce, Kyler, and Nicole.
All right, hello again, everyone. So for my first semester, I took a honors first year seminar. Those are designed for first year students. It's a smaller group of students, and they're based on specific topics. They're not necessarily designed for your major. Mine was an introspective class on self-identity. It was very useful because it's a smaller group of people with similar interests, but like different areas. So like we had different majors. We were like public health majors, we were music majors. We're all mixing together, but we're all in the honors program. So it was help with creating a connection there.
Yeah, so my first semester, which was actually just 2 semesters ago, I took honors prime time. You get to move in early, and that was one of the best decisions I made for my first semester was taking honors prime time because, like I just said, you get to move in early, you get to get in your dorm before everyone else, and you get to meet other honor students, which is what Abby was just emphasizing as well. You just get to kind of get immersed in that culture a little bit earlier, and so that was just a great experience for me. I ended up I am interested in international studies, but I'm not sure in what way yet. So I did something to do with going international, and my professor was actually a dance instructor, which I'm a business student, but my professor was a dance instructor, and we learned how to do some Brazilian dances, and we just had a great time.
I also took part in honors prime time my first semester. I ended up as a part of a creative writing group that ended up being wonderful in terms of making a lot of great connections and getting to know a faculty member. So I highly encourage honors prime time as an experience. It's very it really allows you to dive into connecting into the honors program. I also took an honors first year seminar, and while I said like I'm an English and creative writing major, similar to Abby, mine had nothing to do with my major. I took an herbal products class because it was the only one that was going to fit into my schedule. And I was the only person in there that was not a science related major, I'm pretty sure. But I ended up making a lot of interesting connections and meeting people that really thought in a totally different way than I did, which I found to be beneficial as I found new friends and again, developed those connections. I think a lot of times with honors coursework, it's less about, while the material is still very important, as with any class, it's also about developing those connections within that community for those courses.
I also participated in Honors Prime Time as well as a first year seminar and an honors discussion section of one of the lectures that I was in. Those three things were really good for me just to get immersed in the honors community because I actually had a couple other honors students that were in all three of those things with me. So it was really nice to be able to show up on the first day of class and recognize some faces. And then I also took an honors section of rhetoric, and that was really good for me. Developing academically. I got really close with my professor, and the class had only about 15 students in it, which is smaller than non-honor sections of rhetoric, which is a bonus. And then she actually helped me with a project that I did the entire second semester of my freshman year, revolving around writing a paper and then presenting it at a conference. So it was just really good experience for me. One thing I would like to throw out about honors coursework though is it might seem harder to get into honors courses, but I promise you all of the coursework is very accessible to get to sign up for it and get your honors credit.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so I want to say a few more things about Honors Prime Time. We really recommend this to our entering first year students, although we're talking about it as a first semester class and it will be considered as part of your first semester. It actually takes place before the semester begins. So you would move in a full week before regular classes start and participate in this 3.5-day workshop style class where you're with a small group of students and a faculty member and learning about something that that faculty member has a deep interest in. For example, Bryce talked about his prime time with a dance instructor who's from Brazil and has a great deal of interest in international things. So although he's a dance instructor and he used that as part of his first year prime time with the students, his focus was really more broad than that, was international connections and using, I believe, Bryce, you could maybe say more, but he had you go all over the campus and making connections with international resources on campus.
Yeah, we actually like walked a few miles during almost every day. He was much more broad than just that one thing, but that was kind of his little special token that we got.
Yeah, so the point being that prime time, we encourage you to be open-minded and to see it as a way to get to know other students, to learn about something interesting. It's not necessarily going to be something in your major or something that you're going to be focused on for the rest of your life, but it is going to be an academic experience and a social experience. And our students have given us great feedback that they really value prime time. First year seminars then are also small, sort of bite-sized classes like prime time, which just earns 1 semester hour of honors credit. Honors first year seminars typically meet once a week and again are a small group of students and a faculty member. And again, we encourage you to think outside the box and don't just go for something that you're going to be studying for the next 4 years. Really, you might want to choose something that you're just interested in. And again, the value is going to be academic, yes. You're going to learn about something that someone has expertise in, but it's also going to be social. You're going to get to know other honor students. That mystique that is often sort of forbidding at the beginning of your college career about faculty, that will be dispelled as you get to know a faculty member in a little bit closer setting. And then in terms of general education courses, almost everyone has to take rhetoric, take an honors section of rhetoric. Almost all pre-med students are going to have to take principles of chemistry, take an honors section of principles of chemistry. Many majors recommend honors interpretation of literature as part of the general education program. Take an honors version of that. Talk with your advisor about what honors classes fit with your recommended course load for the first semester, and take as many honors classes as you can. I'm going to just open it back up to you guys, Kyler, Nicole, Abby, Bryce. Is there anything more you want to say about coursework before we go on to experiential learning? Okay, Kyler.
Yeah, I have one thing I wanted to add. If there's any students out there that may be coming in with with either, dual enrollment credit or previously attained college credit that might satisfy certain general education requirements, there are also options in order to what we call contracting classes in the honors program, which permits you to sort of develop your own honors coursework alongside a faculty member. I utilized this my first semester with a French class, which allowed me to get to know a professor as well as dive into the French literature that we were looking into a little bit more. I got to sort of design a particular project. So in case that might be part of your situation, that's something to keep in mind, that there are options. So that way, you might not be able to take an honors general education class depending on what you're coming in with, but there are other options.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, Kyler. And I would just add that we don't expect you to remember everything that we're saying right now, but we're here in the fall. And for contracting, you have the first 5 weeks of the semester to decide if you want to contract a course. So that's not something you have to rush into, but it is an option for you. We recognize that a lot of students are bringing in a lot of credit these days. And so contracting, students have a really good experience with it, and it's an honors type of class as well. Nicole, did you have something you wanted to add as well? I see you're unmuted.
Yeah, one thing that I was really nervous about coming in taking honors coursework was if they were going to be like graded harder or significantly harder, where I might be better off taking non-honors coursework. And what I found was that they're really not. The classes just tend to be smaller and more discussion based, so that like instead of just reviewing again what you've done in lecture or going over the same thing over and over, it tends to be more discussion based, where you're extrapolating and applying the things that you're learning a little bit more than just going over the topics.
Okay, thanks. And we'll invite you to ask questions about coursework a little bit later, but we do want to talk about experiential learning. As I said, our focus is on coursework, but experiential learning is an important piece of the honors experience going forward. And so we want to kind of give you a heads up and sort of whet your appetite to start thinking about experiential learning. We have what we call a menu of options in terms of honors experiential learning. So you might want to do honors in the major, which is departmental honors. That is both a separate and related type of honors at the University of Iowa. Honors in the major is determined by each major. So it's not us, the honors program, saying what you need to do in order to earn honors in the major. It's specialists within your department. And what it typically is some kind of research that then culminates in a thesis, which is just a really long research paper explaining what you learned through your research. So that's typical, but it's going to look differently in the art department. It's going to look differently in the English department. So the experts in that department determine what you need to do for honors in the major. But if you do that, it completely fulfills the experiential learning component of honors. students don't usually start on honors in the major until their junior year, or they might start exploring towards the end of their sophomore year. So it's not something you need to worry about right away, but something to keep in mind. But don't just assume that you're going to do honors in the major, because there are lots of other experiences that are really valuable for you and that will count as honors experiential learning. And some of those are research, study abroad, internships, and then we have a variety of experience-based coursework. You can be an undergraduate teaching assistant. That's what the teaching practicum mention is there. You can be an honors writing fellow and tutor other students in their writing. You can earn honors credit through service learning. And then if you're part of the Tippie College of Business, as Bryce is, there are a number of experiential courses that are sort of like real world consultancies that also count as experiential learning credit. So as you can see, there are lots of options, and these are some of the most powerful learning experiences you can have as at the college level. So let's hear from our orientation leaders. What are you folks doing for experiential learning, or what are you planning on doing? And again, remind us of your major or maybe your kind of career professional goals, if that's relevant. And we'll start with Abby and proceed alphabetically.
Yes, so I am a music and psychology double major, but I'm interested in going into higher education, especially within research and assessment. And for one of my experiential learnings, actually, I had an internship with the Women's Resource and Action Center on campus, building a longitudinal based assessment. And then I built it, implemented it, analyzed it, built up a report from there. And that counted as about 3 credits of the experiential learning. I've also, in the fall, I'll be doing a research project that will also count towards it as well.
Yeah, so I'm in Tippie, which is the business college. I'm not 100% sure what I'm doing for this. Like Holly was saying, some of this stuff, or like departmental honors and some of the other stuff, you don't really start thinking about after you've been at Iowa for a year or two. Currently, I've been progressing towards the departmental honors through Tippie. They have like it says down there at the bottom of the slide, they have a few different options if you're in the business school, which if you are, you can talk to me, or I can get you set up to talk about those with someone else as well. I was planning on studying abroad, possibly this summer and the fall, but obviously with everything that's going on in the world right now, that's no longer a possibility. Neither was an internship. So I'm hoping next spring I'll be able to go abroad and possibly next summer get that internship.
Yeah, so I actually, next semester, I'm going to be an honors writing fellow, which is a program that you have to apply for, and you have to take a course for before you can work in the writing center full on. But as an English and creative writing major, I'm really looking forward to the experience of helping others craft their writing and better certain papers. And part of my career goals specifically is that after college, I want to teach English in foreign countries for at least part of my life. And so I've been really looking into the honors teaching practicum. I've been trying to figure out if there's a course that I might be able to do for that, but also looking for writing experiences such as the Honors Writing Fellows Program. And I also, while it may not be like evident, I've looked into research actually. A lot of times people assume that STEM majors and sort of science fields are where research is based. However, I've actually looked into research within the language departments, and that's something I've kind of gone on my own path to just see what's available. It's a little bit different than, say, working in a lab. But talking to various professors about, what are their projects that they're working on right now, and is there a place for an undergraduate student? I haven't been able to find something yet, but I am still looking. So I would suggest that in looking for your experiential learning opportunities, don't shut anything out based on your major or kind of where you see yourself. There are lots of opportunities that if you look, you can probably find some way to fit it in to your curriculum here at Iowa.
I'm kind of like Bryce, where I'm still trying to figure out what exactly I'm going to do for experiential learning credit. I'm the student that changed their major 4 times their freshman year. So every time I thought I had a plan, I found out that I did not. So I actually started going through the process of how to study abroad, and I also had an internship lined up, but it ended up not working out when I changed my major. So I'm considering looking into some research that some of the professors in the College of Nursing are working on, as well as seeing if there's some sort of internship that I can get professional health, like internship time that way. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, thanks. All right, orientation leaders, I'd like you to share with us what have been your best sources for finding out about honors, and what would you recommend to these entering first year students in terms of how they stay on track with honors, who to talk to in order to ensure that they have the best honors experience possible? What's your advice? And how about if we go backwards by first name alphabetical order this time, and we'll start with Nicole.
So for me, my resident assistant was in the honors program, so I was very fortunate that way, where she could give me kind of some personal advice on what worked for her. So I would say that finding other people in the honors program that maybe aren't incoming freshmen would be a really good way to get some like from the ground information, as well as utilizing our honors peer mentors. That really helped me my first and second semester trying to figure out a plan of what would be best for me. And they're very friendly and personable, and they have a lot of knowledge that way.
I'd echo Nicole on the honors peer mentors. I know that I've had really good experiences with them in terms of I tend to be somebody that, you know, goes on the website and looks up all the options like on my own. Like I like to know what it is I'm doing, make my plans. So I had already kind of looked at the honors website in depth, but the honors peer mentors have something that, like, you know, you can't get from looking at a website, which is they have experience working with the people in the honors program. They have experiences with people maybe not directly related to the honors program, but have been a part of their honors experiences. They have experience, which is something that is very useful in hearing as a first year student. And as you progress, it's always nice to kind of, if you're maybe feeling a little lost, or to be grounded by somebody who has, you know, gone through it and they have successfully completed what it is that you're trying to do now.
Yeah, those are great answers. I would add an advisor. Your advisor should be able to, they'll know what they're talking about. And again, like what Kyler was just saying, how the peer mentors, like you can read it and look at it, but they work with other people and students, and they went through it themselves quite recently. It's pretty much the same thing with advisors. Obviously, they didn't just go through it, but that's their job, is to help kids figure out what classes to take and what to do. And so if you go to them, they most assuredly can help you figure out what path is best for you. They're not going to make you do anything, but they'll just advise you and help you and aid you to figure out that path that you would like to take. Also, you can just talk to any of us in this meeting right now. That's what we're here for. That's why we're doing this meeting. So even if you just want to send something in the chat right now, or ask us afterwards, or anything like that, that's what we're here for.
Yes, everyone has already said so much useful information. I would want to echo once again the peer mentors, because they not only do they have experience, they have some more training within honors programs, so they can know how to connect you with resources. If they don't know the answer, they can connect you with someone who does. But also something that I encourage is, if you or your student decides to take prime time or first year seminar, talking with other students was really beneficial for me. That's how I learned more about the contrast, because someone else was talking about how they were interested in one. And then from there, I was able to like connect with peer mentors and ask about it. So really getting in communication with your peers is really important.
Okay, and if you follow the curricular requirements, you do 12 semester hours of honors coursework and earn 12 honors credits in experiential learning, you will graduate with university honors on your transcript and diploma. And in normal times, we have a honors commendation ceremony, and we had a special slideshow that we created this year for our COVID-19 era graduates. So we do give you special recognition at graduation when you graduate with university honors. And we'd like to leave you some time to ask us your questions now. If we haven't covered it all, or even if you kind of want to know more about something, how can we help fill out your picture of honors? I'm going to invite you to ask your questions in chat or to unmute yourselves and say your name out loud or say hello or something for us to be able to hear your question.
Holly, I received a question from somebody
Okay.
that I thought I would address for the whole group, and it was how and when do you get a peer mentor, which is a great question because I'm not sure if any one of us said. You're actually, as part of the honors program, you're required to meet with an honors peer mentor during a semester. So during each semester, you will come to the honors building, and they act similar to advisors where they have certain office hours, and they will be present in the honors building to support and assist you. So you're not necessarily assigned one, but you come to the honors building and it acts similar to like an advising appointment, just to make sure that you are on track with your honors coursework. And if you feel lost, they can provide you with the resources to make sure that you feel comfortable that you're going to accomplish everything.
Okay, so there is a question about AP courses in high school. And I think one of you orientation leaders can maybe address that. Did any of you participate in the AP capstone courses in high school? And if so, did you find that helpful? I think it might be most helpful to talk about how is honors at the college level different from honors or AP classes at the high school level.
Yes, so Nicole kind of touched on this a little bit when she's talking about how we view honors programs at Iowa. Going in, at least I had the belief that like honors coursework means it's gonna be more like intensive. We're gonna get more work in there, which can be very intimidating because college itself is it's intensive. It's college. However, the way it works is more of an expansion of like your roundness as a student, if you will. Allow me to say it that way. It's less about like going in depth with like work that you have to get done, and more about being in a classroom full of like-minded students who are interested in learning and curious, and more like a discussion and talking more along those lines. Having AP coursework can help, but it's not necessarily in the ways that one would be thinking in like that line of intensity. It's more of just allowing you to open up your like landscape of education.
And I would have to add, since it was referenced specifically as an AP capstone course, I know that I've never had experience with that particular AP program, and so I'm not sure as to what experiences that entails. Or so I can't speak to the similarity or the difference between that and the honors program for it being kind of a specific course.
Okay, there are a couple of questions about prime time. One, is it necessary to stay in the honors housing during honors prime time? No, you move right into your own residence hall. And if you're living at home, as I know many of our Iowa City students are planning to do in the fall, you can participate in prime time from wherever you're supposed to be living during the school year. You don't live in honors housing unless that's where you're going to be living. And I'm going to invite Emily Hill to answer the question about when students register for prime time and how they find out about it.
Sure. Hi, everybody. So I think the first question I see in the chat is honors prime time as scheduled, on as scheduled? So yes, it is. We are kind of in a holding period right now because we're waiting on official recommendations from the Health and Safety Committee from the university on how we can safely have classes and still learn. And so we are not exactly sure what it's going to look like this year. There will have to be some changes just because we can't have, I think it's right now the CDC, I believe, is saying over 10 people in a group in the same room. So we're going to be waiting on official recommendations from the university. But yes, we're going to do some sort of hybrid version of prime time. How do you sign up for that? The honors program, we will be emailing all of our first year students probably around mid to late July. We'll be emailing you on the instructions on how to actually sign up. So you don't have to sign up during your summer orientation slot right now. That will actually come after summer orientation is completed. So we give everybody a fair chance at the different sections of prime time. Oh, and you already answered the housing question, Holly, so.
And there was also a question about honor scholarships, and I'm going to invite Dr. Spizak to address the question of honor scholarships.
Thank you, Holly. Let me get my video back up. Thank you for asking that. We have approximately $120,000 we give out per year for honor scholarships. These are only for honor students who have access to them. It's an application that we send out late in the fall semester or early spring. So all incoming students would be able to apply for a scholarship, excuse me, that they would then, it would be awarded in this academic year, but it would actually, you would use it, the funds would be applied to your second year here at the university. You can apply for them every year except for your senior year, of course. And we have a high degree of acceptance, relatively high degree of acceptance for our scholarships, which is to say you have a good chance of getting one if you apply for it. There's a common app for it. We make it easy. You just apply using one application, and we plug you into whatever scholarships fit you. Our scholarships do differ. We have some named scholarships that are quite substantial, $5,000, for example, per year. So there's plenty of support out there for those who are up to applications, applying for them. We also we support our students through work. That is, we have a staff of honor students who work for us, and we also have peer mentors that we pay. So we understand financial need, we understand the desire to keep your student debt down, and we do all we can to help our students with the financial piece. Thank you, Holly.
Just to expand on the scholarship portion a little bit, from a student perspective, the way that you would access the university, like all the scholarships that the university has available to students is, I'm not sure if students have access to this yet, as it kind of depends on your enrollment status and everything, but in my UI, there'll be a tile about scholarships, and it'll take you to what we call our scholarship portal, where you'll log in with your Hawk ID, and then it will prompt you to fill out a general application, which usually comes out in September, and then that system will be updated throughout the academic year with different scholarships, and that's where you're going to find the honors scholarship form application in that portal.
And I actually sent that link in the chat if any of you guys want to try and get on that.
The application process for the honors specific year-to-year scholarships, the Rhodes, Dunlap, and the others, that opens up in November. There was also a question about when honor students register and if they register earlier than other students. Of course, during orientation, you just register when you have signed up for registration. But during during your 4 years here, you will register according to how many classes you already, or how many credits you already have. So students with more credits register early. You don't necessarily register early because of honor status, although there might be scholarships that allow you to register a little bit earlier. One other thing I want to say about that is the concern behind that is usually, will I get into the class that I need to take? And maybe I'll have the students address that concern about whether it's hard to get into classes. But one thing I would observe is when you're in honors, you have all of the honors sections as well as all of the general sections, the standard sections to choose from. So when you go to sign up for a class, if there's an honors section, you actually have more options than regular students do in terms of getting something into your schedule. Kyler, Bryce, Nicole, I don't know if any of you want to address the question of, is it hard to get into the classes that you want to get into?
I personally have never had struggles getting into classes that I'm interested in. That being said, it does vary a little bit depending on the demand of the class that you're taking, as well as the class size. If you are interested in taking a class that's capped at 25 students that a lot of other students on campus want to take, you're probably going to have a harder time getting into that class compared to some of our larger, like chemistry, biology, psychology, those kinds of classes that have a lot more seats available. So it's always good to have a backup plan when you're making your schedule.
Yeah, I'd echo that, where I personally haven't run into problems yet in terms of trying to get into specific courses. However, I do know when it comes to certain major courses, particularly within the English major, as we try to keep courses smaller to be, accessible in a discussion format. Specific literature courses fill up quickly, and I've had backup courses in place. I know one thing typically common amongst honor students is that we all have a lot of different interests. And so I think college is, a great opportunity to explore some of those interests. I would recommend that if you run into a case where you can't get into a course that you had set your eyes on, look at something else that you are also interested in. Take it as an opportunity to explore one of your other interests, because with as many options as there are at the university, it's important to make sure that you explore different opportunities, and don't try and see it as, darn it, I can't get into the course that I really wanted to get into, but, an opportunity to explore something new.
In terms of what classes are provided specifically to honor students that aren't available to other students, Honors Primetime is special to honor students. That is only available to honor students. Honors first year seminars are for honor students only. There are other first year seminars that are also great that are available to every entering first year student. So there's at least a equivalent in that case for all students. And that is the case with most classes, is that there will be an honors section of rhetoric, and then there are a number of standard sections as well. There's an honors section of principles of chemistry and a number of standard sections as well. The honors specific classes are primetime and first year seminar, honors first year seminars, not available to other students in any form. And then When you get to that honors in the major level, there are often honors classes that are only for students who are doing honors in the major. Maybe it's a class that supports your research process if you're doing a thesis or some research that leads to a thesis, or there may be a special class that is just for students doing honors in the major. So I
Yeah,
hope that,
sorry,
go
keep
ahead.
going.
I just hope that addresses your question, and if it doesn't, don't hesitate to put another question in there or to follow up directly with one of us afterwards. We're going to close this down in a little bit, but Kyler, let me give you a chance to just say what you wanted to add.
Oh, that was me. That was me, Holly. I was just gonna say, so one of the differences, just an example, I took microeconomics my first semester, which there's a non-honors discussion section and an honors discussion section. So the big lecture that had like the 300 people, you know, those big lectures, everyone was together. They don't separate those out by honors and not honors. But then in my discussion section, that was just honors. Other kids who are in honors. And so being in that discussion section with other honor students, again, goes back to the connections that we were talking about earlier. And we moved through material a lot faster than the non-honor sections. And so then we were able to use what we were learning in more of a real world application. So while we got done with some material in 10 minutes, I had a friend who wasn't in the honor section of the same course, and they took the whole class period to do that. We took 10 minutes and then really got to put what we were learning to use, which I really, really enjoyed.
Okay, thank you everybody for coming. We need to let you get on to whatever you need to do next, and the orientation leaders are fully booked today as well. So thank you for joining us. You can reach out to me directly on our honors program website, or to one of the orientation leaders as well if you have follow-up questions. We're here for you. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye,
Welcome.
everybody.
Goodbye.